Hello, everyone. Welcome to vFairs Epic Events podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jade Hollins, the managing director and co founder of Disrupt Talent, a recruitment specialist agency focused on the live events and exhibition industry. Jade and her co founder launched Disrupt Talent with a bold mission to become the number one global recruitment partner for events and exhibitions by doing things differently, with honesty, creativity, and results at the core. Jade, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Younas, for having me.
Jade, walk us through a bit of a journey of why you and your co-founder founded Disrupt Talent.
So, look, myself and Nikki have been in recruitment our entire careers. We've recruited for businesses across many different sectors over the years. When we set up Disrupt Talent, we did a temperature check on the markets that were growing. Events and exhibitions was definitely showing signs of growth and movement. We've always been drawn to high energy, creative industries, and live events is just at the heartbeat of that. So it's full of passionate people that are super talented and who really thrive under pressure, which really mirrors exactly how we work and how we've always been. So when we found Disrupt Talent, we explored across the different sectors, and we decided that events and exhibitions was absolutely one that is growing, but also really matches our energy and need for pace and results. So yes, and we've been industry specific now for over 2 years, and we love it.
Perfect. Jade, can you give me an example of, let's say, the top three roles that typically companies come to you for? What are those job titles?
Yeah, absolutely. So, project management, whether that's within sort of the live event space or within exhibition design and build, business development, executives, managers, and directors, sales at all levels, really. Again, across every vertical in the sector, there's a common theme for great salespeople, and live production, technical experts, whether that's in AV or production management.
Jade, I get into calls with our customers all the time. They're always trying to fill up positions. The two that are mostly or pretty much always open with most of our customers are sales and the project manager. So I'm going to ask you a bit more questions on that one. Let's start with sales. Typically, what are companies looking for right now when it comes to hiring for that business development manager? What
Yeah.
are the top three skills that they are looking for when trying to fill up that position?
Okay, so first things first, in an ideal world, everybody would be looking for somebody that's got experience, industry specific experience. That is where the challenge is. There is not that many people in the industry, for example, that have got the exact experience for every single organization. So people with experience is definitely a high demand, technical experience, taking things from brief to completion, whether that's in a design and build environment or it's live events and production. And then it would be hunters, so door openers. I think a lot of businesses have grown organically through the industry, and they're at a point now where they're looking at their next growth trajectory. So they are looking for door openers, people that have got those natural hunting abilities that can unearth new opportunities outside of the businesses that come back reoccurring year after year. So hunters and experience and people that have got energy. It's not only is it a super creative environment, but you also physically need the energy in this industry to be able to go to shows, to be able to travel internationally, and the sales cycles can be long. It's not always a quick win. So it's also having the endurance and attention to detail to take a sale right through from concepts, to right through to delivery. So yeah, there's a lot of ingredients needed to be a great salesperson in this space.
I agree. And AI is only making all of this harder, right? Because with AI, everyone is inundated with emails and cold calls. So for me, I also feel that this is one of the toughest job for anyone to sign up for in today's world. And you're right, everyone wants that experienced person. And I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing because sometimes experienced people, they will just keep on doing what they have been doing, and it's hard for them to kind of swallow the feedback. But where have you seen success as you're trying to fill up these positions? Is the success only applicable with experienced employees, or have you seen fresh grads being hired for this role also being successful, in a hunter role?
Yeah, both is the honest answer. So there's some incredibly talented, experienced professionals in the industry that are moving because they're progressing to their next, their next stage in their professional life. We've seen also some great examples where we have recruited people from outside of the industry. So we have a huge mission at Disrupt Talent to bring fresh talent into this industry. There's a skills gap that is only going to be fulfilled by nurturing new talent into the space. We've seen some really amazing, young professionals that are looking for their first opportunity. We spot their personality from screening and think, right, you've got the ingredients, which we can talk in a little bit more detail later. They've got those magic ingredients that we know they're going to thrive in this space, and they've gone on to do some amazing things, and they thank me because it's like the best kept secret. Unless you work in this space, it's an industry that isn't always explored when you're looking at your career options after leaving school, unless you've had an opportunity to have some exposure into it. It's one of the best kept secrets. So we've had great experience of placing experienced candidates that are looking for a move. They might be moving across the verticals in the industry from design and build into AV, or they might be looking at, working from venues to working, going from working in a contract into venues. We offer a safe space for people to explore their options. And the starting point is really understanding what their drivers are and where they want to be, not just where they are right now, but equally with young, fresh talent coming in that just need to find their place, and they just might not have found their feet yet. They might have had a couple of roles that haven't quite worked out, but they've got the ingredients and the personality that just thrives in this industry.
And how do you define a typical, let's say, job description for these people that are being hired? And we'll still focus on the business development piece, right? Which industries are most reaching out to you? Are these the Fortune 500 companies? Are these small companies who are trying to sell their sponsorship packages and so forth? Are these companies like us, which is in event tech, they always want to hire people? So who do you mostly work with? And then when it comes to the talent itself, right? So the old days were, you have to make 80 dials a day. Hopefully you will connect with 10 of them, you will create one opportunity and so forth. Then came the time where, send out 200 emails, and hopefully two of them or four of them will reply and so forth. Then came the time, reach out to LinkedIn, etc. For anyone to be successful in this role in today's world, what are the top 3 4 activities slash skills that you feel are important for anyone just to be successful in a business development role nowadays?
Okay, so in answer to your first question, who is hiring salespeople? The answer is everybody, absolutely everybody across venues, organisers, design and build contractors, agencies, live production agencies. In every corner of the sector, there's a huge demand for client facing professionals that can work with their customers. AI is amazing, and we can go on to talk a little bit about that in regards to how it can elevate and support as a tool in sales. And I think it certainly has its place. But there is nothing that can replace good old fashioned speaking to people. That is face to face meetings, having a coffee, getting on the phones, and speaking to the decision makers. So we work with large organizations, we work with SMEs, and MDs that really see the value in bringing a great salesperson into their business is ultimately going to help them to focus on working on the business rather than in the business, and having individuals that can really take the driving seat of that is definitely a theme. We work with organizations that are hiring their first salesperson to sales teams that need to be taken to the next level. That's the answer is everyone, in short. With regards to techniques and sales cycles, I'm fortunate enough to be part of working groups with some of the associations that we're part of, and different conversations and sales summits. And more, it's such a competitive space. There's so many organizations that offer the same, could be the same. Everyone's got their unique selling points, of course, but ultimately to an end user, it's really competitive. So the sales cycles are so much more competitive. So, what would have probably taken 10 calls, 10 touch points in a sales cycle, historically, it's probably double or triple that now. And I think the competitive edge is personality and ability to, build relationships with people in a more human element. That is the missing link. I think people can revert back to hiding behind emails, and one of the frustrations that a lot of our clients are feeling within their sales functions is that they don't necessarily have, they need people that can get on the phones, get in front of people, book meetings, create those connections, which is actually at the heart of what events is all about, isn't it? It's about building those connections.
Just moving on the opposite, from a candidate perspective, what exactly candidates are looking for from companies to be successful in these roles? What are their motivations to join, this role? Maybe salary is one, and maybe if you can also guide us an average salary for a fresh grad coming
Mhm.
into this one, because I believe that everyone listening and should know
Yeah,
how beneficial that
absolutely.
can be, but just also what their expectations are from them.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly share some benchmarking with you. That's not a problem. With regards to drivers, why candidates are moving, it's an assumption that, certainly from a sales perspective, it's based on salary and OTE. OTE is ultimately the overall, earning potential for a candidate in sales. They're going to be money driven. Is the assumption, when actually, of course, that apart, but culture is absolutely huge. Cultural fit is something that we talk about a lot and is a huge driver for candidates on why they are necessarily leaving an organization, and also why they want to join an organization. That alignment is more relevant now than ever. And for the young people coming through, looking at their career paths, that is at the forefront of what they're looking for. So culture is a huge driver, and I think that it's really interesting to be working in a space where a lot of the businesses that we work with, to the end user, will have pretty much the same product. They are competitors, right? So we work across the industry. But internally, when we are identifying candidates that will be a good culture fit, it is completely unique.
Interesting.
So the candidate that might be right for client A won't necessarily be right based on cultural fit for client B. A candidate that is great for an SME, that's really sort of on the ground. Many of the functions of the business are wearing multiple hats because they have to. Won't necessarily be the perfect fit for a corporate organization that has all of the structures, processes, and functions in place. So it's very much about that individual and their drivers. So yes, being paid the benchmark of what the industry is offering is relevant, but cultural fit and progression opportunities that aren't always linear, be a great salesperson and go into management. It's like, where are their routes to go to? And I think that for some of the SMEs, there is definitely, some challenges with, okay, where does this salesperson go to in the next level after they become a sales director? You don't necessarily see 10 sales directors within uh, an SME, whereas with a larger organization and a corporate, there are other pathways available.
Yeah.
So, with regards to benchmarking, entry level candidates, we can place at 25,000 plus bonus. This could be their very, very first role, but they have great earning opportunities. We've seen some great, some new starters in this space earning some fantastic commission, which, in a first job, is amazing to see. And it's a great pathway, actually, in a sales executive or telesales executive type role to that BDM, business development manager type route, so and then and for business development managers, they can be anything from 30 to K right up to 40 to 50. Sales directors around that 60 to 70K mark plus
No,
commission.
that's extremely helpful. Just coming back to candidates themselves, I want to just maybe zoom in a bit more on that cultural thing, because you're absolutely right. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I have seen that sometimes candidates who are absolutely amazing in company A just are
Hmm.
unable to do anything in company B, and so forth. And while I know about the senior candidates, I don't know too much about the young candidates and the young generation. That's where I just want to come back. But when you say cultural fit for fresh grads,
Hmm.
is it more on that they're looking for someone who can coach them, guide them, and help them out in the initial days? Is it more on the perks? Is it more on the work from home? Just if you can further define few things that you feel in that importance for the young generation. Do
Hmm.
they like to be, I don't want to call the word micromanaged, but I just want to say like mentored a lot? Do they want that special attention, or do they want to be just left alone and just let them run their own way? And I know that this will be different for different companies because everyone have their own culture, but things that the young candidates are looking for, where you have seen that they have been a lot more successful if the company was able to provide these three things each to them. Yeah.
I think ultimately it comes down to balance, and can I couldn't give you everyone's candidate drivers because of course we're dealing with individuals, but I think that there's a real opportunity actually, in today's landscape, in that the young people that are coming through are way more entrepreneurial. They have a drive and they have a hunger to learn, and they want to be coached, they want knowledge, and that's exactly the type of individual that we are looking for, that we know will thrive in this space. I think that there is a place for candidates that want to be left alone a little bit, but that dig into the detail. But as long as they know and understand that there's a period of time where there's onboarding, and there are going to be occasions where there's just no role in this space that isn't client facing, so they're going to have to build those interpersonal skills to be able to handle that and work with the clients at any given stage, which is always room for development. I think balance is key. Corporate social responsibility is a driver. They want to know about your company's values. They want to know about your mission. Sustainability is a key driver for a lot of young people coming through. They want to know the values of the company that they're joining. What are the progression opportunities? When we first engage with an organisation who we're working with, we immerse ourselves in who they are, not just what's on their website, what's the story, how was this business built, how was it founded, what's the story, what's the culture, where are the growth plans, are they a business that wants to grow sustainably, are they on a fast track of growth where it's going to take a certain type of individual to withstand that pace, and what's important to them. And then you've got also the balance around working from home and remote. It's very, very, on a case by case basis, depending on the individual. The challenge is, in the event space, everything is actually happening on site. So we, often are looking for individuals that are comfortable and actually thrive in those environments. You've got candidates that would hate working from home, that just wouldn't be able to work for a company that's remote, because they need that personal connection, and they need that team connection. There's other organizations that work really effectively remotely and where their team connects only when they're on site together. That isn't for everyone. So it's understanding, from an individual's point of view, if they, what's going to suit and be in alignment to them. And there's other businesses that just could not operate on a remote or hybrid basis. They build on site. They are all on site every day. So they would only, be looking for a candidate that would thrive in those environments.
Perfect. Jay, just one last question on this piece. But as a company, Do you have any secret questions that you typically ask a candidate that helps you find out whether they are truly meant for this industry and for this kind of a role? Because with sales, especially with experienced candidates, they all have figured it out how to answer the sales questions, like, what your quota is, what do you do exactly, whether they do those things or not. Salespeople are naturally good storytellers to begin with. Like, they know how to handle an interview.
Yeah.
Do you have something that, up your sleeves, that helps you just find out who's truly cut for this industry and who's not?
Yeah, yeah. Well, with sales, and if we're talking specifically regarding a experienced salesperson, it ultimately comes down to the results. We are looking at, what results they have delivered from a financial point of view for the companies that they've worked for, and their the sales cycle, how they manage that, what level of involvement they have in that, the types of industry sectors that they have experience selling to. And then we do a lot of listening, to be honest with you, so the results is ultimate. Sales isn't a passive role. You've got to deliver. So we'll talk to them about that, but also just going back to their drivers and what really gets them up in the morning. You can't really fake passion. You can be a great salesperson, but you can tell when somebody is really passionate about what they do. So it's understanding a little bit more about their motivators and their drivers, because great salespeople need to be motivated. Their, management style. How do they like to be managed? What's their preferred leadership style? Because we work with lots of different leaders across the landscape that all have very, very different leadership styles. And ultimately, as well, sort of their levels of self-awareness. Where do they want to be, and where do they see areas that they could develop, and is that something that they're interested in? Are they looking for an opportunity to go and develop some and hone in on some of those skills? So yeah.
Chit, as we interview candidates, we see that most of the candidates that are out there in the market, specifically in sales, they would have 2 years or less experience in every single company, and they're moving to the next company. And again, maybe I'm just from, like the old days, right? Where you feel that, if someone is really successful in that role, why would they leave? Because in sales, it takes time to build that pipeline. And then once you have started closing it, if you go and start with any new company, in most cases, you're starting from scratch. You're always taking a bit of a risk when you're moving careers, specifically when it comes to sales. So a lot of other things, project management, AV, etc. From day one, you have a client, you have a project, and that you can actually prove your value.
Hmm.
Clearly, there are mistakes being made by companies when they're hiring. What are some of the biggest recruitment mistakes you see companies make when they're hiring for salespeople? Because clearly, most of them are getting it wrong. Most of them, because most of the time, even a CRO in a company, the average tenure nowadays is 12 to 18 months, which for a CRO position, it's a horrible tenure in today's world. So clearly, companies have failed in finding the right sales talent. Where do you see the biggest mistakes happening?
Okay, really, really great question and super interesting. And I'll start with the job hopping perception mindset shift. Okay, so I think that the people's careers and how they evolve and people's drivers around moving has changed. And when we see a candidate that has moved around a couple of times, we have a conversation with them around why, and we dig into the detail there. We wouldn't just disregard them because they've moved. And I think that there is a theme around job hoppers and people not wanting to hire people because they've moved around a bit. Salespeople, it's quite normal for them to move around, not necessarily every year, every 2 years, but to have a few different opportunities within there. It's more rare to see a salesperson that's been in the same company for 10 years. That's the minority. And it's around understanding, okay, if they were great at what they did, why didn't they stay where they are? There might not be a great culture fit there. Ultimately they might have got to a point where they they didn't have the internal support or resources they needed to reach their potential at their current company, which some companies admit and say, they did what they came in to do, and it was their time to move on, and we'd welcome them back. And that's why you sometimes see people that go back to organizations because they're good at what they do. So you do see that a lot as well sometimes. So in terms of job hopping, so we have conversations with people to understand their story and their reasons to why. In regards to companies and what they could be doing wrong, I think that sometimes when you are hiring your first salesperson, you might not have all the tools and resources internally to set them up for success. There's a lot involved with regards to sales, and we have had meetings with organizations where they've said, we want to take the business to the next level, we want to double in turnover, can you find us the best salesperson? And that's just going to be that. There's so much involved in building a sales function and actually growing sales within an organization, and it doesn't all fall down on a great salesperson. Where are the leads coming from? Do you have a marketing strategy? Do you have a business growth strategy? Do you have a CRM system? Do you know how to measure what works? And do you have a system to do that? Do you have a support function around this salesperson? Is there a really clear process around where the sales ends and then the project delivery begins, and all of these different things? So I don't think it's ever intentional that a founder or a business leader would invest in paying a big salary on a great salesperson for it to not work out. But it can happen for a number of reasons, and there's a lot involved in a sales success. It's not just down to the sales individual.
Makes sense. Jay, just purely from, let's just say in today's world, I cannot have any podcast unless I use the word AI in it. So I'm just going to ask you that question, that both within your own company and then as you are interviewing a lot of candidates and or companies, right? Where exactly AI has been actually beneficial? Because I absolutely agree with you. AI is there to help you scale things, help you reach out to more people, but nothing beats having a coffee with someone, building that connection. And the challenge that we all see right now in today's world is that you open a LinkedIn page, and there are so many people saying that they have this magic prompt that will change your life and that will help you generate a lot of business, a lot of connections, etc. And when you copy that prompt, it does not work for you, or maybe it never worked, and that's just their way to kind of get more attention. So I wanted to know from you, where have you seen AI work as of now within your company or within the industry, and where exactly it's not there yet.
Yeah. Well, AI absolutely has its place. We think it's amazing. In fact, I'm not even here right now. This is AI. It's my AI. Look, we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CVs that come through. So we can use AI to support us within screening, but at the position of identifying a candidate that could be in alignment with one of the roles that we have advertised, we just pick up the phone. So there's a place for it. We can support our candidates way more through a whole entire interview prep and recruitment process by using certain AI tools. But ultimately, it helps us to screen faster. It certainly speeds up. My business partner Nikki, she lives for AI, and we've used it on a lot of sort of the business strategy and some of the management tools in terms of how we can structure some of the processes internally for our teams as well. So it's great for processes, and we do use it. So we see the value in it, so that we can spend more of our time with our team, developing our team, and investing in our people, and also with our clients and with our customers. So in answer to your question, speed is the benefit.
Yeah, few last questions. You are filling up positions for the events industry. What are your most favorite events that you personally like to attend as an attendee?
Do you know what? I was actually thinking about this prior to our session today. And I've been to some of the most amazing conferences over my career that have left me feeling so inspired and just full of energy. And it has inspired me personally where they're more like business conferences where there's keynote speakers. I just think that, really engaging speakers that can really connect with you and help you shift your perspective is so powerful. So personally, I love those business conferences where, people can share their inspiration and you come away feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to make a change in my life. And then I've been to some of the most incredible exhibitions where the stands every year, you think to yourself, oh my goodness, how can they just get better and better every year? And that's the thing, that this space it's like evolve or die. You've got to just, what's the next best thing? What's the next best idea? How can we be even more immersive? How can we be even more creative? And I love that that needle is always moving, because progression is something that really drives me. So this industry is constantly feeding that for me. I always feel inspired. I think there's some amazing creative people, and things that I'll never forget. Events and conferences that have stayed with me that I'll never forget. So an amazing industry to be part of.
I forgot to ask that question initially, but how did you found what led you to build this company? But more importantly, where did you find your co-founder? Like, how did you recruit her or she recruited you? Yeah, either way.
He found me. We found each other. So Nikki recruited me when I was 19 years old into recruitment. She was my first boss, and I fell into recruitment. I went into a recruitment agency to look for a role in sales, actually, and I was snapped up quite quickly. And we have worked together on and off for best part of many, many years, all of my career. I've gone off to do different things. Nikki's gone off to do different things, and we've championed each other over the years and become really close friends. And yeah, it was inevitable that this would happen, that we would do something for ourselves. But the time came and we were both brave and decided to do it. And yeah, now we're growing our own team with similar journeys. And it's just amazing how the cycle of life is going on. And now we've got people that are in their first roles looking to us to support them through their career. So it's an amazing experience.
Jade, if any of the listeners want to connect with you, want to learn a bit more about Disrupt Talent, specifically companies who want to reach out to you guys for your services, what's the best way for them to connect with you to learn a bit more about your organization?
Honestly, Tate is saying true to everything that I've said today. Just pick up the phone. My number is 07563 143 500. And there is nothing better than just a good old fashioned talk on the phone.
Perfect. And the listeners are, she's based out of UK, so just make sure that if you're dialing it internationally, you have the 0044 before that. Thank you so much, Jade. I learned a lot from you today. And again, I'm going to connect with you offline as well. Thank you everyone for listening in. If you want to connect with Jade, you have the number. Also, I saw that she's very, very active on LinkedIn, so you might want to connect with her online to learn a bit more about their organization. Thanks, Jade, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.